Howdy, folks. This is BelGeode, and we are back in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and this is a test, otherwise known as one of my chill vids. So, yeah, this bird. Look at this bird. This has been a long time coming. We have been waiting for this one. And without going into too much details, there were certain challenges, shall we say, to bringing this bird into this sim. However, with those challenges surmounted, we now have this aircraft just about ready to release. Soon, TM. This aircraft, of course, that I'm referring to is the Iris Simulations Pilatus PC-21. It is a beauty. It is an absolute beauty. No doubt, if you've been following closely with the flight sim community, you've probably seen this aircraft shown in various videos, in particular doing like air show routines with the VAAF, Virtual Australian Air Force, and they do an absolutely tremendous job of flying. I am not going to be nearly as good. We'll just put it that way. But suffice to say, I did want to take the opportunity to showcase this aircraft because this is one of the ones that I've been waiting for a long time. The last time I had this aircraft is in P3D, I believe version 4, if I'm not too mistaken. But this one and variants of it do have a history that spans even further back. And honestly, it is sublime. But now that it is just about ready for release, you too will be able to get your hands on it really soon. And I sincerely hope that you're going to enjoy it because it is, in my opinion, one of those aircraft that really sets the bar as far as what this type of aircraft should be like. All right, so where are we? Well, you may have noticed the livery that I'm rocking here is a Saudi Arabian livery. We're in Riyadh. Well, more to the point, we are at the Riyadh Air Force Base, and unfortunately, as you can see, it's pretty much stock standard. Of course, we know the reason for that because Air Force bases are typically not fully modeled in Microsoft Flight Simulator, but I could not find anything that actually models Riyadh Air Force Base properly, so we're just going to run with the default. But we're going to be flying to Riyadh International, which will be an add-on scenery module. That one is a freeware that I got from flightsim.to. Link, of course, to everything will be in the video description below. Caveat with the aircraft, since it is not yet released and this is a preview, you will not find a link to that until it is available. So if you're watching this video prior to the aircraft release, the video description will just say a link will be available later. Once it is available, I will update the video description and you can clicky to your heart's content and purchase this aircraft if you so desire. All right, so first things first, as is typically the case with me, I like to go through the external cameras. We're in a drone camera right now, and as you can see, this thing is definitely ramp ready. It looks beautiful. But let's get into the static cameras, which I've actually helped to update those. So, first camera view. Our standard behind the aircraft view. I love having something like that because it's basic, it's to the point, and it's very good cinematically, especially if you're like me in VR and you like to look down at what you're flying over. I love this shot. Second, of course, the infamous BelGeode landing cam. Gotta have it. Gotta have it. If a developer doesn't have it, I will add it. And thankfully, I've got the blessing of Iris to put that in there, so now you all get to enjoy it as well. I love shots like this, especially when you're coming into land. And then the third camera, this is one of the standard cameras that was included in the cameras.cfg. It's your above the aircraft, behind the aircraft view. So when you do like a wing over and stuff like that, you can really get a good view of the world above you, since of course you'll probably be upside down. Then we've got our standard side view shots, which I like to use whenever we're doing like loop-the-loops and so on. So there you go. You can really see the Royal Saudi Air Force there. And same thing for the other side. I love shots like this because they're fixed, but they give you enough of the aircraft and the world around you to really take in the sights. And then, of course, there is the landing gear cam. Now, this camera actually was a little bit further back, but I pulled it forward because I want to see the gear retract, and I know the gear retracts to the rear of the aircraft, so that's kind of why I have this there. Plus, this has a secondary goal. If we had smoke tanks, which I won't be equipping on this flight, you could also see the smoke coming out from the bottom of the plane. So that'll be great for you aerobatic guys. And then finally, there is this cam, which actually was requested by one of the people in the focus group for the beta testing. So I went ahead and added that in there, and hopefully that will be a pretty cool shot for you, especially when you've got your smoke trailing. So there you go. Pretty cool stuff. All right, we're going to get back to this camera and leave it there for the time being. You can already start to see some of the additional scenery that I've got here. You'll notice that building there. We'll get to that in a second. Hopefully I can, pay a visit to it, shall we say. But before we do that, we're going to, of course, need to start the aircraft. So let's hop in the cockpit. Okay, and we'll do our customary look around the cockpit, which requires me physically moving in my seat. So you can see we are in the front cockpit. There is a rear cockpit since we do not have shared cockpit just yet by default in Microsoft Flight Simulator. We are not going to visit the rear cockpit. It pretty much looks similar to this anyway. So if you know what this looks like, pretty much imagine that, only a little higher up and a little further back. There you go. There you go. Now, one important thing that I should point out, you will notice, let me see if I can move my head a little bit more here. You will notice that little red thing there at the center of the seat. So there's one for both seats. There's one in the front, there's one in the back. You got to make sure you take the one in the back out first. The reason why, since there is no one actually sitting in the back seat to do it for you, you've got to do it yourself. Otherwise, the aircraft will yell at you. So keep that in mind. And we'll discuss a little bit more about some of the things that we need to take out in order to get the aircraft to do what we want. But here we have our handy checklist, and we're just going to go through everything really quickly here. Fuel and weight as required, yada yada. Parking brakes are set. Chocks are not removed. The chocks, I believe, are linked to the parking brakes. So if I remove the parking brakes, the chocks should go away. Let's test that theory here. So we're going to take the parking brakes off. You see a little parking brake lever there. We'll go back to the outside view, and we still have chocks. Okay. I'm thinking I need to have the battery on for that to happen. So we'll go ahead and put that back on. As always, make sure you read the manual. I have gone through it a couple of times. However, it's me. Battery 1 and 2 and Gen 1 and 2, all of those switches should be on. Those are on the right-hand side there, so you can see battery 1, battery 2, Gen 1, and Gen 2. Those are now on. As is customary with this aircraft, the right MFD comes to life, and of course, Bitchin' Betty starts bitching at you, so we can disable her there for a second. So we'll go ahead and clicky that. No external power right now, so we won't need that. Flight controls, we'll do our controls wipeout. So back, forward, left, right, and rudder. Okay, all of that is good. Internal lights we won't need. As you can see, it is daytime. Oxygen is off. PCL, check full movement. So with the PCL, which is basically a throttle lever, you need to push this to get it to idle. And then we can go full throw back. And then we will also push it to turn it off because we need to have it off before we start the engine. So you'll even notice it says fuel off. Flaps lever, make sure that is up. Flaps lever right here. It is up. Fire tests 1 and 2. Now I always forget where the dang fire tests are. So we're going to use the eyeball here. There it is. Right there. Okay. So we can go 1. Yep, fire 1. Okay, that works. Let's go fire 2. Fire 2 is lit. Okay, we're good to go. And we'll put it back into the center. There we go. And Betty's still yelling at me. Okay, Betty, shush. Lamp test, that should be right next to the fire. So we can hold it down to test it. You'll see there's a light on the landing gear. You'll see all the caution and warning lights are lit up. Okay, everything appears to be good. PMS, make sure that is guarded. That is this little button here. It's kind of hard to see because it's got a little glass cover and it's black, but it is currently guarded, which is where we want it. Anti-skid, make sure that is on. Your anti-skid switch is here by default. It is on. Auto start, make sure that is guarded. Your auto start switch is to the left of the switches that we've been manipulating. So this is it right here. This is basically how you're going to start your aircraft. Ridiculously easy to start this aircraft, but it also had a little plastic cover over it to make sure it's guarded. So you got to click it twice, basically. Starter ignition is on auto. I believe it is. Starter is set to auto. So yeah, there we go. Fuel pumps also set to auto. Left fuel pump is on auto. Right fuel pump is on auto. We're not going to have the same issue that we did with the Eurofighter. Emergency jettison is guarded. There is our emergency jettison switch. And yeah, we don't need to jettison anything, so that's fine. External fuel pumps, that's these guys here. We do not have any external tanks. You can put external tanks on this, but we do not have any. Therefore, we can pretty much leave that on auto. It's not going to come on. Trim aid device. So we got trim aileron power and we've got trim aid device. That needs to be on. So I believe it is on, actually. Yeah, now it's off. That's on. Trim aileron power is also on. Yep, sure is. Trim indicator, check function, set green. We can just basically move our trim here. So you'll notice on the right side, I'm increasing and decreasing the pitch. And we'll set it back to green, which is pretty much centered. Landing gear handle, make sure it's down and 3 green. We have that. Emergency landing gear handle is in. It most certainly is. Arm switch is off. Now, I always forget where that is. I know it's on one of these sides here. There it is. Right there. Right there. It is currently set to off, which is perfect. SFD, check the condition of that. You know what? I have no idea where the heck the SFD is. I'm assuming that's the screens, but I could be wrong. UFCP, that's there. EMD, compass, clock, all of this stuff. We don't need to worry about it because all of that's turned off anyway. But we will be turning it on soon. All right, FMS. We're going to want to make sure we turn that on. And this is where the fun starts. So FMS switch is right here. Click that. FMS turns on. Now, these buttons do work. This is basically a fully functional FMS. But there is a caveat to that. Of course, not every single feature is modeled on that. But you can do some things. So you can go like, for example, pause init. You can enter the ICAO code for where we are, which, to be honest with you, I don't even remember what it is. But you'll notice that there are some coordinates there, some north and east things. We can click on that, and that'll put it in our scratch pad in the bottom, and then bump it right there. So now we can actually initialize that. And I don't remember if we have to press execute, but it's in there now, so we're good. Okay, this is where we are at. Oscar, Echo, Romeo, Yankee, and we are going to Oscar, Echo, Romeo, Kilo. So, that is cool. All right, performance initialization. That just tells you all the basic stuff that you need to know for takeoff, climb, so on and so forth. Takeoff, we're looking at a V1 of about 142, V2 at 153, or excuse me, VR at 153, and V2 at 178. Okay, so we're good to go there. I'm going to leave it on this page because there's not much else that I really need to do there. Intake prop and probes, make sure that is all off. I do believe it is. Yes, probe de-ice is off. Nav lights, we can actually just turn that on now. I know I'm skipping ahead with the checklist, but there we go. External lights, nav on. FMS is set as required. PTT is centered, which is correct. That is on this side as well. So let me just show you that switch really quick. There it is. It is in the center position. So that's what we're looking for. We're okay with that. All right. AMU is normal. ECS temperature is required. VCS guarded. Fan speed, cabin pressure, all that good jazz. All right, let's get to the fun stuff. Let's go ahead and get started. HMD VR. See, I like stuff like that because that just makes sure that you're pretty much set up. Now, as far as I'm aware, there isn't an actual HMD with this bird, or at least I don't see the coding in there that would indicate that I can actually get a helmet mounted display. But as we know, if you're watching this video, I am in VR, and yep, that is definitely fitted and secure because I'm in VR right now. CFS pin. Okay, I'm going to stick a pin in that one, so to speak. This is important because you cannot close your canopy until you remove this pin. This is it right there. You see a little red thing there? It is physically blocking the canopy from closing. So you click on that and it goes away. It puts itself in its little hole just behind where my checklist is. And that will allow us to now close the canopy. Now here's another important thing. Hey, look at that. There's somebody buzzing us. Wonderful. With the canopy, you need to make sure it is closed and locked before you think of starting this engine. Because of the way this aircraft is coded, it will not start if your canopy is open. So how do we do that? We're going to click this. That will, of course, bring the canopy down. Hopefully my checklist is not in the way. It is not. Okay, we are going to go canopy locked. Perfect. All right, let's get our anti-collision lights on. And that is this guy here, the red one. We do have white ones and recognition lights. We'll go ahead and turn those on once we're ready to take off. Landing lights as well. And we are pretty much set for an engine start. Oil temperature should be greater than 40 Celsius. It says it is 47, if I'm reading that right. Yeah, looks like it. Okay, so we're good to go. We're ready to start. Canopy's closed, so we can't shout clear prop. Not that we would do that anyway, but to start it, here's what we're going to do. Open the guard cover here and just click the switch. Make sure our NG is increasing. I believe once it gets over like 12 or so, we are going to click pull for idle. So there we go. The transition in audio in that, I believe, is work in progress. I know that it kind of dips out there, but that is something that Iris plans on addressing. Whether or not it's sooner or later, I don't know if it will make it in time for release or thereafter. All right, but PCL is idle. We'll watch our temperatures. Temperature looks good. NG looks good. Everything looks good. I'm loving it. All right, we still have one warning here for oxygen, but we'll get to that momentarily. Tow brakes, we're going to go ahead and pump those really quick. We have the parking brakes on, so it's not really going to do much. But yeah, we're good to that. All right, next page. After start. NG at 50% minimum. NG is currently at 54, which is where it should be. Everything is in the green. Propeller is above 600 RPM. I believe it is. I'm going to go with yes. I'm going to go with yes, it is. All right. Gen 1 and 2. Yep. Checking volts. That's good. External power. Okay, MC HUD switch. This will bring to life all the other MFDs as well as the HUD itself. Give it a few seconds, you'll notice the red X's, and the HUD is firing up. You can do like alignments and all of that good jazz there. I mean, technically we already did that with the FMS, so we should be okay. Let me just click it and see if it does anything. No, it's not doing anything. All right, that's fine. We're already aligned, so I'm not worried about it. Give that a few seconds to do its job. Intake as required. Our intake is fine. Oxygen, we'll go ahead and do that really quick here. So the oxygen switch is over here. But here's a catch with that. There is also an oxygen switch in the back, so your oxy light will not disappear until we move ourselves to the back and click that. You'll notice that the rear cockpit is dark. That is fine. We're set up for solo flight, even though we do have a backseater. But it is what it is. And we're fine. You notice our little oxy thing disappeared. All right, we're going to pull the flaps through takeoff, landing, and takeoff. So TO, check flaps, good to go, set to landing, check flaps, good to go, set to takeoff. Yep, it's coming back up, and set to full flaps up. Very good, very good. We'll put it back to takeoff flaps. There we go. All right, air brake, we want to cycle. Now the air brake is on the bottom of the aircraft, so we'll need to go to the BelGeode landing cam in order to see that. So let's do that really quick. And we might as well leave it on that camera. Okay, upfront controls, we're currently set to COM. If we wanted to, we could set our fuel, so our Joker and bingo, which indicates when it's going to warn us that we're getting low on gas. Right now, that's pretty much set. As you can see, we've got 897 pounds on board right now. Take a sip of water here. Okay, so that is what we've got. We are pretty good with that. We can set it to like navigation and so on and so forth. I'm going to hit one of these here to just kind of set us up. I'm trying to remember which one it is. Oh, it's this one, MSN. So that's our actual steer points and everything else. So that'll tell us where we need to be and when. We'll go through all of these because all of those are on, and we're just about ready for taxi, so not too shabby. All right, landing light, we're going to go ahead and turn you on since I'm notorious for forgetting you. There we go. Parking brake will need to be off, and the brakes will need to be checked. Okay, so that is basically it for right now for our checklist. So Kara, are you on board, my dear? I hope you are. Let us tell them we are departing straight out.
Riyadh traffic Pilatus 901, taking off runway 15, departing straight out.
Oh, because this is a stock airport, there is no tower. Okay, well, you know what? Let's announce a taxi first.
Riyadh traffic Pilatus 901 is taxiing to runway 15.
I need to remember where the runway is on this one. Thankfully, I do have a little cheat that I can use, and that is the VFR map. There you go. You can see our flight path there, so we're going to be taking off to the southeast, and then we are basically just going to do some shenanigans flying around the city, checking out this FREEWARE scenery, and we're going to come in at Oscar Echo Romeo Kilo. So there you go. There you go. We're staying in the neighborhood. But what I want to see is where we are in relation to where we need to be. Okay, here's our airport. And this is the main reason why I use the VFR map, folks. All right, so we're pointing off in that direction. We need runway 15, which is this guy right here. So that means we will need to make a left-hand turn and then pick one of these taxiways to go out. Not a problem. I'm gonna move this out of the way here, so just right there. That way I can see it, but you might not be able to see it since the VR, the tops and the bottoms are cut off. An interesting note, just before we get going here, regarding this. the TSD screen or HSD screen, whatever you want to call it, it will show you your waypoints. It does not show you your map by default. However, there is a way which will be outlined in the manual for this bird where you can go in and basically import charts, flight charts and whatnot for the area in which you're flying. And when you select this button, Map, it will access what you've inserted into that folder and overlay it on the map so you can actually see a physical representation of the area that you're flying in. We don't have any of that available for us today, so that will not be a concern. I am, however, going to change my setting here. Let's see, I don't want it on VOR. I want it on this MC. Okay, so that'll at least give us an idea of where we need to head for our waypoints. All right, so I believe we need to make a left turn, right? Let's go ahead and do this. Altimeter is set. Oh, wow, I didn't realize this place was 2,000 feet above sea level. Interesting. All right, parking brakes off. And let's roll out. And we're going to turn this way. I know the yellow line is telling us to go the opposite way, but let's just say I like to buck the trends. So, gotta admit, this is certainly a beautiful rendition of Saudi Arabia. I'm not 100% certain how realistic it actually is, however. But I like it. I like it a lot. It looks and feels like the Middle East, which is, of course, the important thing. All right, so we need to go to the right once we get to this little taxiway here. Another thing I will say, this thing does have a tendency of taxiing fast, so be careful with that. Try to keep it roughly around 10 or so knots. But I realize sometimes that can be a little bit difficult, especially when your task is saturated, as I sometimes tend to be whenever I'm recording these kinds of videos. You'll see we're already up to 18. So we'll go ahead and slow it down here a little. But yes, at least we're headed in the right direction, which is the important thing for me. We do have a little ways to go. Since this is a chill video, of course, you know that means very little editing. So yeah, you've got to suffer through the taxi with me, unless of course you fast forward the video. But this will at least give us a good opportunity to check out our surroundings, which we could also do from the outside, and we will momentarily. Just want to make sure that we're not taxiing way too fast. I'm already going faster than I should be. I'm at 20 knots right now. Ground handling, this thing feels great on the ground. It doesn't feel squirrely or anything like that. It actually feels like I would expect an aircraft like this to handle. Of course, bear in mind, none of us are using, you know, like the top of the line actual military trainer sim version of this, so I can't speak to the accuracy of it. I just know what works for me and my Virtual controls, and this feels good. This feels good. Okay, now runway 15 is going to be going in the opposite direction. So that means our first turnoff here, we're going to need to go left and go all the way to the end. At this point, I'm not so worried about the speed getting away from us if we're on a very long straightaway, but obviously we don't want to take off on a taxiway. That's generally bad. Generally considered bad, especially if you're in DCS. All right, but we're going to make our left here, and yeah, it's going to take us a little while to get there. So we're going to go to the outside view. I'll put it to the above and behind camera, and we'll come back in once we are close to where we need to be. Okay, looks like I did a relatively decent job as far as keeping us kind of on speed. I don't believe this is the end of the runway. I believe this is a high-speed turnoff here, so it should be our next turnoff. I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. There we go. Okay, so that gives me a good idea as to where we are. And since I know that we are where we need to be, we're just going to scroll out of the VFR map. Probably won't need to use it considering how close the destination airport is, but at least as far as navigating around an airport, in particular unfamiliar taxiways, it's kind of useful to have the VFR map up, even if it is considered a cheat by some. All right, I don't see a hold short line here, but we're going to make one. We're going to park it right here. Let's put our parking brakes on. There we go. Kara, do your thing, please.
Riyadh traffic Pilatus 901, taking off runway 15, departing straight out.
Okay, before takeoff, let's go through that really quick. There's 12 items. So ejection seat armed, pins removed. I want to say it is. Yep, I don't see any. Oh wait, you know what? We forgot our pin. Okay, now the ejection seat is armed. Okay, we're good. Oxygen is on, check flow. Flow is good. Air brakes in, flaps to takeoff. Trim aid is on. Trims are in the green. Let's just verify. Yep. Canopy closed and locked. Flight instruments are all synchronized. Yep. Probes on, so we'll go ahead and hit that really quick. There we go. That's our probe heat. Check the captions. We don't have any warnings or anything, so I'm feeling good about this. Flight controls are still full and free. Emergency departure brief. If we gonna die, we gonna die. There's your brief. Because there is no parachute in here. All right, line up. Transponder on, mode C. I don't remember if the transponder is on here or if I have to use the upfront controls for that. I want to say I have to use the upfront controls. But we're going to bypass that because Kara will automatically turn it on once we get going. Let's go ahead and get our lights on and check our compasses. That is a clock. So we got that on, we got that on. All right, those look good. Those look good. Everything does look good. Okay. I think we're good to go. All right, so let's go ahead and take the active. And we can do the rest of this without the checklist, hopefully. I love that sound. I know it's still work in progress, but that sound to me is just a beautiful thing. All right, I see nothing coming in. No Airbuses going out. And we'll go ahead and line up here. Alrighty, folks. You know what it's time for. Brakes down, throttles up. And let's go ahead and put the external camera into the BelGeode landing cam. Okay, now we're ready. Brakes down, throttles up. Brakes off. And let's put her to takeoff power. Notice I said takeoff power and not max throttle. Definitely don't want to go max throttle on this one. You can, depending on your conditions at the time of takeoff, but it's not advisable. We do have a little bit of a crosswind, as you can see. I'm kind of going back and forth there. We're looking for 140 something. There it is. And V1. Oh, look at that. Beautiful, beautiful. She just leaps into the air. All right, let's go ahead and get our gear up. Okay, we are up and away. I love it. So we're going to box egg, and then we'll turn around and start doing some shenanigans. There you go. Look at the beautiful city of Riyadh. I mean, it is a little monotone, but then that is to be expected for this part of the world. I'm not going to complain too much about it. It does have some greenery, though. You can see that. I don't believe there is photogrammetry for this area, and I would kind of like Asobo to start paying attention to some of these areas, in particular Middle East and Africa, and of course places like the Caribbean, South America, and so on and so forth. I believe I have heard that they're going to be working on Brazil as one of the World Update areas, but I would love to see them give some more love to the Middle East, because we do have a fair amount of Middle Eastern flyers who I'm sure would greatly appreciate their neck of the world being modeled. All right, according to this, we need to go left, so let's go ahead and go left. You knew I had to do it. And to prevent Kara from continuously talking to the tower, we're just going to leave things as they are. So we're not checking in or anything like that until we're getting ready to land. And that will reduce the number of times that we have to hear her. All right, I'm going to trim us up a little bit here. There we go. We're just about at 5,300 feet. So we can take a quick look there. Look at that. That is beautiful. That is beautiful. All right. And we're going to swing a little bit more to the left. You can see our waypoint designated as a circle with a little stick coming out. So all we need to do is basically just line that up. We'll overlay it. And this means we will be pointed directly at our waypoint. Once we cross this waypoint, we'll start doing some shenanigans here. But look at that. Got a nice little canyon area there. There's another airport that I didn't realize was there. Maybe we should have taken off from there. Not gonna worry about it. That does look sweet. See, this is what I'm talking about. Just a little bit more love in this area would really make it pop. But as is, Saudi Arabia does look pretty good in this sim. So I will give them some credit for that. Alright, now, let's see if we can have some fun here. I've been eyeing that building that has a hole in it near the top. And I'm thinking this could either end our flight or it could be the greatest moment in this video. We're about to find out. I have pulled the power back. As you can see, we are just about 72% on a torque. That should be fine as far as our power goes. Everything else is looking good. All of my gauges are fine. This thing handles so well. It's just amazing. I've got her trimmed out. She's feeling good. We're a little over 6,000 feet right now. We do have some thermals, I guess you would say, heat rising. So that is having a little bit of an impact on how we are actually flying. But with that having been said, let's go to the outside view and pay the residents of Riyadh a visit. Oh, that is so beautiful. So yeah, freeware from flightsim.to adds these landmarks. And then of course the second freeware that I'm using from flightsim.to will add the airport that we're going to land at. But yeah, I got to do this again, folks. I got to do this again. I've been waiting for this literally all day. All right, let's see if we can pull it off a second time. I'm glad that they had the foresight to make it so that we can fly through this thing, because that's just so awesome. Needless to say, do not try this at home, especially if you live in Riyadh. It'll probably end really badly for you. But it's Microsoft Flight Sim. Just don't tell them I did this, okay? Okay. Whee! I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm getting a little bit of stutters in the sim today. I'm not quite certain if that is a server issue or what that is, but suffice to say, I think we'll survive. All right, so now that we have done some pretty good shenanigans here, let's see if we can get to our waypoint. So Boudav is what we were looking for. And I want to say it is off in the other direction. But we're going to take another fly over the city here just so we can see the various landmarks. That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. And that's one of the things that I have to commend the Middle East in general for, is their architecture. There are some phenomenal architects that have come up with some of the most amazing designs. The only places I think that actually kind of rival some of the architecture that you can see here in the Middle East would be in places like Singapore and whatnot. But yeah, suffice to say, that is just so freaking cool. I love it. And I especially love when people take the time to use things like SketchUp and other programs that will allow you to create 3D models and bring them into the flight sim for the greater community to enjoy. You are the real MVPs. Make no bones about it. You are the real MVPs bringing this stuff to us. And I applaud you for that. All right, here's our airport. We're going to line ourselves up to Luxor. I believe that is where our next waypoint is. We're going to go around the city, locate the airport, and then we will bring her in. So I'm sure I don't need to belabor the point as far as handling for this bird. It is phenomenal. The flight model is really great. And like I said, I can't compare it to real life because I've never actually flown a bird like this in real life. But for what I feel in the sim, this feels like how I would expect a PC-21 to fly. So yeah, top marks for that for Iris Simulations. Like I said, I've been waiting for this bird for a long time, and I'm so glad that they were finally able to bring it to the sim, because it just absolutely makes my day. Being able to fly in this thing finally in Microsoft Flight Simulator is just awesome. Of course, I could be one of those guys that says, hey, now bring it to DCS, but we already know DCS. Yeah, there's a procedure when you're getting involved with that. So I don't expect for Iris to ever think about porting something like this to DCS. I mean, they still have it, from my understanding, for P3D last time I checked. I don't know, that may have changed. But DCS, probably not going to happen. Suffice to say, since this is a trainer, so to speak, I think Microsoft Flight Simulator is a very good venue to have something like this in, because you've literally got the entire world at your disposal. And to me, that is what makes it worth it. I don't need all the full systems modeling, every single detail to military specifications. I just need enough so that I can feel like I'm actually controlling a complex aircraft, and I can fly it the way I would like to fly it, which basically means shenanigans, having fun. All right, but this is Luxor coming up. Let me see if I can get the autopilot to work. Okay, we're going to go master autopilot on. I want the altitude hold on. Let's see. I don't remember where my autopilot controls are on this. Really should refer to the manual, folks. Nav mode. No, it's none of those. It's not in comms. Not air to air. It's not air to ground. I don't think. Is it? No. All right, but suffice to say, I do have the autopilot on. You can see it says right there. This, I believe, is a bug. You'll notice that the letters are superimposed. It's supposed to be in LNAV mode right now, but it doesn't appear to be holding LNAV mode. We can switch it to heading. So we're going to turn LNAV off, and we'll keep heading on. And I can, of course, use my heading bug to control where we're flying. So there we go. You see the little heading bug moving. We're looking for the blue arrow, which is pointing us to our next waypoint, which according to the left MFD is waypoint 6. We're going to turn it a little bit more here. Make sure we are stable at 6,200 feet. Looks like we are. Looking good, looking good. There's our destination airport coming into view on the VFR map. There we go. We're going to bypass this a little bit, and then I'm going to turn us back the other way, so that way we line up our waypoint and we're going directly towards it. All right, see, this is an area that I think could use a little bit of love. The satellite imagery on this is not the best. It is not the best at all. This could be a little bit better. We need a world update for the Middle East, please. Show it a little bit more love. That would be awesome. All right, we need to line up a little bit more to the right. And I'm just basically trying to get our little steer point marker into the diamond. There we go. Right about there should do it. Okay, so that's going to have us going outbound a little bit, and then we are going to start our downwind. The airport should be somewhere over there. And as I said, this is an add-on airport, so yeah, we're going to be seeing a little bit of extra goodies on that airport, and it is freeware. For the meantime, let's see, we do have a little bit of a leg from Itkus to Hazem. So once we actually make it to Itkus and of course make the turn to Hazem, I will go back to the outside view and we'll do our typical cinematics, so that way you can check out the beauty of the bird as well as the audio. Alright, looks like we have already made the switch, so let's go ahead and turn ourselves. And I'm basically just using the heading hold because for some strange reason I cannot seem to get the LNAV or the nav hold to do what I would like. So I may be bringing that up to the developer. Remember, this is the beta version of the product that I'm flying here, so things may change between the time you're watching this video and the time that this aircraft is actually available for sale. Keep that in mind. Beta is beta. Alright, but we're pointing roughly in the right direction, so let's go ahead and go back to the outside view. And we'll go ahead and enjoy our flight. Okay, so we are about 2/3 of the way to Hazim, and then we're going to need to make a sharp left turn to get into the pattern. So I think, let's see, what was our altitude or our elevation? About 2,000 feet, right? So maybe we should come down to about 4,000. So I'm going to go ahead and put on the VS. And we're going to drop this down. Okay. And it looks like we are getting ready to make our turn. So, yep, here we go. Kara, if you could, please. I need you to contact them to tell us where we're coming in on. All right, nearest airport list, OERK, King Khaled International. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Tower Pilatus 901 is 17 miles north, 5,800 feet, with India to land. Pilatus 901. Make straight in runway 15 left, Pilatus 901.
Okay, where's our runway? I do not see it. I want to say it's over there somewhere. Yeah, looks like it might be. All right, we're just going to go ahead and line ourselves up here. In the meantime, we're going to need to come down. Hey, look, there is an aircraft above us. Is that an Airbus? I can't tell. I hope you're not planning on landing, buddy. Otherwise, it's going to get real rough because I'm muscling in. I was first. I don't hear him on the radio. Oh, look at that. I think it's actually showing us traffic, too. That's interesting, huh? All right, let's go ahead and make the turn here. Now, because we're kind of coming in a little bit fast, of course, we're going to need speed brakes. So let's put the speed brakes out really quick here. All right, what are we looking at here? 219. Yeah, we're going to pull the power back a bit. And of course, I am going to need to adjust us slightly. There we go. All right, I believe we're going to want to land on the left side of the airport. So let's go ahead and get ready for that now. I'm going to hit the speed brakes one more time. Bring us below 200. We should be well within gear limit speed, but I like to be safe. All right, speed brakes in, gear down, flaps to half. Landing lights, you still on? Yep, looks like you are. Okay. And I'm not correctly lined up, but that's okay because I am about to take it off of autopilot and do everything manually. So autopilot is now off. You'll notice we've got a nice little AOA indexer here. One thing that I have noticed, and I don't know if that is just my ignorance of the way this thing is laid out, but the AOA indexer giving me the green donut versus the E bracket that you're seeing in the HUD, where my velocity vector is, don't seem to line up. Unless I'm supposed to be looking at the waterline, which is entirely possible. Yes, see, look at that. Waterline is centered, and it is saying we are just about on speed, pretty much. All right, so we've got the airport coming up. Let's quickly go to the outside view, make sure that we've got 3 down and locked. Okay, everything looks good. Now, the only problem with this FREEWARE airport that I'm seeing here is I can't quite tell what is the runway and what is considered tarmac. I'm assuming the lighter gray that is directly underneath my altitude box is what we should be aiming for. But since I am currently unable to get my LNAV to do its LNAVy things, I can't tell for sure. I cannot tell for sure whether or not I am properly lined up. But I think I'm starting to see the runway come into view now. So yes, it does look like it is the light gray portion on the left side, and there's a matching runway for the right. So yeah, that layout seems about right. We can always zoom this in, our little cheat here.
Pilatus 901, wind 127 at 5. Cleared to land runway 15 left.
All right, sounds good. Kara?
Cleared to land runway 15 left, Pilatus 901.
All right, I am feeling good about this. So we've got flaps down full. We're trimmed up nicely. Actually, I can probably give us a little bit more trim here. There we go. There we go. And there's our runway. All right. So we're just going to go ahead and line up. As is typical, I like to give you the little pop-up commentary to indicate the airport that we're coming into. So once again, we're going to go back to the BelGeode landing cam really quick, so that way I can flash that on the screen for you. Definitely getting a little bit of stutters on this one. I'm hoping that I am not missing any library objects for the scenery package, because I just downloaded it as is. I didn't see anything in there that indicated to me that I needed other library objects, but that does bring to mind a very good point. Be careful when you download freeware stuff, because you might need additional library objects that are contained in a totally different product. So keep that in mind. All right, we're going to bring her in. I'm still not feeling so hot about this AOA indexer here, so I'm going to pull us up just a little bit more. All right, now we're too much. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. Green donut. That is what I am looking for. And we'll start bringing her in. I'm trying not to give any pitch inputs with the stick. I'm just kind of keeping us level here. But if you do it right and the wind conditions are right, this thing will basically fly itself down, which is pretty dang awesome. And look at that. We've got AI aircraft. That is a beautiful thing. All right, we're a little high, but we are cleared to land. We've got plenty of runway to work with, so I am pretty sure we will be okay. And we'll get our flare ready. Power to idle. Nice gentle flare. And she'll just float herself down. Look at that. Almost didn't even feel that landing. That is just so perfect. Now I'm also going to center out our trim, which will kind of force the nose down a little bit. I'm not sure if that is how they actually do it in real life, but that is how I am going to do it. Take a look at that airport. Is that not cool? FREEWARE, folks. That is FREEWARE. And I'm about to run off the runway here. This is what happens when I start lollygagging, huh?
Pilatus 901, turn next taxiway.
I shall. We're going to make a left turn on the next taxiway. Let's go ahead and get our landing gear up. Or, not our landing gear. We don't want that up. We want our flaps up, not our landing gear. Telling you, this is a difficult job trying to fly and talk to you at the same time.
Pilatus 901, contact ground on 121.8.
All right, lady, we shall not, but we might acknowledge you.
8 for Pilatus 901.
Yeah, we're totally not doing that, Kara. But yeah, welcome back to Riyadh. I would say welcome to Riyadh, but literally we haven't left the city. We just landed in a different airport in the city. But that is cool. And I am loving the detail that was added to this, especially like the differing textures on the ground there. The texture could use a little bit more sharpening, but you know what? I'm not going to complain too much because I've got my anisotropic filtering set to 8 times, not 16 times. That will eat your FPS, especially in VR. So 8 times is fine. But it's at least enough to give us a yellow line off in the distance, which is the important thing. And look at those. That is beautiful. Simply beautiful. Bunch of 7.7s. All right, we're going to find our parking spot over here, I think. So we're going to pass the Saudi Airlines there. Whole bunch of 777s. And we're going to pull up here. Overall, I would say this aircraft is ready for prime time. There's some minor details that I know for a fact the developer is working through and should have ready by launch, which again is coming soon. But with all of that having been said, this is exactly the aircraft that I expected out of Iris Simulations, and I am so grateful that they were finally able to bring this bird to the sim. I think they have done it justice. I am basically just scratching the surface in this preview video. I'm not even getting into a lot of the nitty-gritty that's involved with this aircraft and all the various things that you can do. As always, read the manual. We're going to pull up right here, and that'll be it for our flight for today. So there you go. Just to remind you, the aircraft that I've been showing off has been the Iris Simulations version of the Pilatus PC-21. Given the blessings of Pilatus themselves, you can expect this one to be pretty in-depth. I'm not going to use the whole study level phraseology because let's face it, nothing is really truly study level in this sim. And yeah, PMDG, I know, but at least as far as aircraft like this is as close as you're going to get. But you know what? That's perfectly good enough, and I'm okay with that. All right, so that will do it. So once again, just to remind you, everything will be in the video description below. The aircraft, once it is released, will also be linked in the video description below. This is the Iris Simulations PC-21, Pilatus PC-21. The airport that we're using is a freeware available on flightsim.to, and the landmarks that we flew over and through are also available as freeware on flightsim.to. So that'll do it for me, folks. Thank you so much for watching. This has been BelGeode. I have been flying in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I'm just going to do the quick shutdown here. We'll go ahead and turn that off, and there we go. Good to go. We'll get our lights off as well, and then we'll go ahead and get the canopy open now that the engine is off. So I sincerely hope that you've enjoyed our little brief flight around the Riyadh area. If you enjoy what you've seen, please feel free to give me a like. Don't forget to subscribe. I will be back at some point in time in the very near future with some more Microsoft Flight Simulator goodness. In the interim, I wish you all a most pleasant day, evening, morning, wherever you are. And I will catch you all really soon. Ciao. And Asobo, fix that.